Ole Miss takes on South Carolina tonight, and which could be the beginning of something really special. We got to bring in the mayor of Corinth and talk about it.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast out there. I'm your host, Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member. On today's show, we start by breaking down our favorite kind of prop bets. We're going to look at that in segment 3 of what we're looking at. We'll talk about how this is a November to remember. We'll talk about being an Ole Miss fan from back in the day and kind of the stick-to-itiveness. You're going to have to bear with us on that, and we'll talk about the matchup itself. Should be pretty interesting to see how it goes. Remember, we're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day, and a special hello to the insiders and everydayers who make the show what it is. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like Ole Miss's players, they sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, Tom. This is funny because I've talked about it over the course of this week. And when you look at it, this is the season. This is the moment. This is the month that Ole Miss fans have looked forward to. The only thing that has come close to it is the 2003 season and that LSU game. But at this point, you have 4 games where Ole Miss is probably going to be double-digit favorites overall. And all you have to do is win those games. You have to just chalk. And the biggest football game in Mississippi history is played. Because if Ole Miss hosts a football game in Vaught Hemingway Stadium, that is the biggest football game in Mississippi history. And it all starts with the game tonight against the South Carolina Gamecocks. And I believe, like when you have a 2-minute drive, you run a draw play or a screen pass that first play to get things going, that's what the South Carolina game is to me.
Yeah, I can remember years ago when we were ranked 4th in the country, and that was way too high, and we went to South Carolina and got beat. But I will say this. I think that each game that we have left, if our team will come out focused like they have on some occasions this year, and not like the Washington State game, I think we will see a home playoff game in Oxford. My concern with this game coming up tonight is that their defensive line is going to be big for them. We've got to be able to run the football. And we've got to spy Lenora Sellers. He's a wonderful athlete. Now we're supposed to win by two scores. I know that, but we were supposed to win by 4 scores against Washington State. So if they,
I'm not worried about Washington State because that was a game that there's not a team in the country that could have performed well against Washington State that game.
Well, they were up and we were for a lot of it.
Yeah, because Ole Miss was playing Georgia the next week.
Right.
They just came off of a bye week after
Right.
hearing about Georgia for 2 weeks after beating LSU. It was the worst possible trap scenario, and Ole Miss won that game.
That's
So
true.
They did get the W in that game,
Yeah.
but there's not a team in the country that would have been up to play Washington State that day.
Well, that's true. I'll give you that. That's a true statement. But if we can get through this game, and then we've got Citadel, that's a little breather. And then the Florida game at home. If we can get through those 3 and go into Starkville with a 10-1 record,
That's a coronation at that point. That the whole stadium is red and blue.
Oh, yeah. That'd be sweet.
Yeah. If Ole Miss wins their 3 home games, which they've won 21 out of 22 of their last home games. But if Ole Miss beats South Carolina, beats the Citadel, beats Florida, and they're 10-1 before the game in Starkville, that game is a coronation at that point. You're going down there to celebrate.
Exactly.
So I think we're going to talk in the next segment about the South Carolina game. We're not overlooking South Carolina at all, not even a little bit. I had Daquan Wright on the show earlier this week, and Daquan said everybody's locked in. Everybody knows. They are all keenly aware of the opportunity that is being presented right now. Nobody's going to overlook anybody. Nobody's going to do that. He actually phrased it, for the next 30 days, there are no days off.
Yep.
And they know the score of this. Lane Kiffin knows the score. If you want to talk about all the coaching noise that's out there on the ether, Lane Kiffin's not doing the stuff that he did before the Auburn search in 2022. He's completely locked in for this playoff run. So I think as a fan base, we need to be completely locked in on this playoff run. Don't worry about January and what happens. All of that stuff is going to take care of itself. Worry about the next month. Have the laser focus 6 inches in front of your face and go from game to game to game, because it's like I just said a little bit earlier. This is the November that you've been wishing about since Mark Young was the quarterback in 1986, playing in the Independence Bowl against Texas Tech, and we were all thrilled that Ole Miss was in that game at all. Show out, because in 1992, you're playing Air Force in a Liberty Bowl. You've just thrilled to be in that game just in itself. That was back when Ole Miss's bowl eligible was a major talking point. Exactly. Nobody even mentioned it this year.
Oh, exactly. Well, it's an afterthought. And for folks as old as me and even as old as you, we ought to appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember my old buddy John Darnell in 1989 in the Liberty Bowl. Mm-hmm. You know, they brought Chucky in on a stretcher, and they did great things, and that was unbelievable. And to go to where we're at now is amazing.
Yeah, it's important, I think, for people to kind of stop and smell the roses and what's going on, and not lose the sight of the fact that everything you've wanted your whole life is right now. It's not all next year. It's not 2026, not 2027. I don't think Lane's going anywhere. I'm just not worried about that right now. I am completely focused on the next 4 games because of what those 4 games and what they could mean, and that Ole Miss are going to be significant favorites in those games. So it's kind of on me. It's kind of on the players, kind of on the coaching staff. It's kind of on you. It's kind of on the Ole Miss fans to give their all for a month and give this the old college try, because this feels like next year.
Exactly. And, you know, one other thing, for the folks that can make it to the game, please make it. There are still a few tickets left.
South Carolina returned some.
Carolina returned a bunch. I
don't blame them.
I don't either. Yeah. And I be honest with you, I think Florida's going to return a bunch.
Mm-hmm. Nobody travels to games anymore. I mean, we're going to go down to Starkville as far as the Ole Miss fan base and all that. If Ole Miss is 10-1 because it's a coronation, they're going to try and take over that stadium at that point. But nobody travels to ball games. Now, Ole Miss fans went to Norman, Oklahoma, but that was the novelty of the fact that you'd never been to Norman, Oklahoma before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm just thrilled. I know this wasn't in our list of things to do, but I just want to mention real quick that I'm like most people in America. I expect Lane to stay. I don't see why
I do too.
I don't see why he would leave. He got the money. He's got the assistant coach's money. He's got good NIL. It's getting better every day. I think people that think he's going to go to Florida or LSU or wherever, they're living in 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nick Saban was on an interview, said that you'd have to have a long debate about even if Florida and LSU is a better job than Ole Miss.
Exactly.
And that was the GOAT saying that.
Exactly.
And yeah, so anybody that thinks it's just cut and dry, I can't take you seriously.
Right.
Now, he might go and something's going on because you never know what a coach is thinking.
Right.
You know, you never know that. He might go, but it's not a cut and dry. He was always going to do it. I'm absolutely certain of that. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Tom. Ole Miss puts out a contract offer if he's going to take the Florida job. Make it be known that you're willing to pay $14 million.
Yep.
And then hire whatever coach you want to replace him.
Exactly. We're not poor little Ole Miss anymore.
Yeah.
You know, the play has been leveled.
Yeah. And it looks like, honestly, it looks like John Sumrall's going to be sitting right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because LSU's not going to hire him because they're not going to hire their little brother from Tulane. And Florida's not going to hire him because his resume is too much like G5 Billy.
Yeah.
And so with those two jobs, if Lane decided to go somewhere, Ole Miss automatically would be right there for that.
Oh,
there's your next head coach right there.
Oh, exactly. And he's a good coach. I like him. He's full of fire and vinegar, and he's hungry. You know.
Yeah, and he has a great personality. It's honestly one of the best personalities in all of college sports. But I think that's all moot because at the end of the day, I don't think Lane's going anywhere because Lane has everything that he would want here. He would have to basically spend the first 3 years getting everything ready to go. And will he be able to just win at that point from those places? I think people don't realize the USC job works against the LSU job and the Florida job right now.
Yeah, it does. And the Ole Miss job works for Ole Miss because we've given him anything he's ever wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And his family's all there and it's home. His son's playing football for the Oxford Chargers. They just a lot to pick up and leave.
Mm. Yeah, should be pretty interesting. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to talk to the mayor about the game tonight against the South Carolina Gamecocks. Should be really interesting, so stick around for that. But first, this episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game. It is about redefining it. There are moments that do more than just put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, help move the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is honestly Winnie Watkins' performance, making big catch after big catch en route to an SEC Freshman of the Week performance against Oklahoma and putting Ole Miss in a prime position to close strong. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. And do us a favor, like and subscribe and comment on the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcast you're listening to and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but helps keep all of this free. Locked On is getting ready to change the game again, by the way, all in the name of having fun following your team. It is all coming in December. We'll tell you more when we know more. And don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college or pro, they're ready for you. Now, Tom, one interesting thing in this game, we talked about Lenore Sellers. We have not talked about Nick Harbor, but I think Dylan Stewart and Jaden Williams, the right tackle position for Jaden Williams going against Dylan Stewart, who is a 5-star elite pass rusher. He is who you need to contain. I don't know why or that we should be that worried about it because Ole Miss played Georgia and had no sacks and no tackles for loss. And against Oklahoma, they only gave up 1 sack. I think they're going to be all right, but Dylan Stewart is the game wrecker that Ole Miss needs to pay attention to Saturday.
I agree 100%. He's a future All-Pro. He's a future #1 draft pick. I think the only reason he stayed this year was for some good NIL money. But I really, really think that if our offensive line plays like they have the past few weeks, we're going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny that it's really good because at the beginning of this season, with Austin Simmons being a left-handed quarterback, Jaden Williams moved out to right tackle. And that's the way it stayed because of all the practicing and fall camp and the communication and all that as the offensive line got better and better. But now it's Diego Pounds on the left side who is on Trinidad Champlis's back blind side. And then you have Jaden Williams. Ole Miss has a really good tackle set in their offensive line right now. Everybody that hammered the offensive line for the first month of the season, their apology note that they need to receive should be due any second now, honestly, because they are playing amazing right now.
You know, in the beginning of the year, we especially you pointed out that they didn't, because they had some injuries in fall practice and they didn't have a whole bunch of time to work together. And you made that point. And as the years went along, you were exactly right. I mean, Kudus was a mess the first 3 games, and he's playing lights out. Pounds is playing lights out. Williams is playing lights out. Heck, Bryson Sanders is playing lights out.
Good for Bryson, by the way.
Yeah.
Because that's a homegrown high school recruit. Everybody wants to talk about the transfer portal. That's somebody that got developed at Ole Miss, and he's playing pretty well. Now, in the rain, he had some snap issues from time to time, but I'm going to say that was just in the rain and that was weather-related.
I agree.
So the wide receiver position, to me, by the way, has my opinion. They are so good. They are. And Trinidad –
they tried to hide Winnie Watkins, and they just can't no more.
No, yeah, they wanted so bad to make it through this year. But he is just – think about this. He has taken time away from Caden Lee because you can't leave him off the field. And Caden Lee makes big catches seemingly every single game. And you look at next year's wide receiver unit. Okay, let's just look at the 2026 unit because – by next season, Caleb Cunningham's going to be a dude. I hate to break it to everybody. He's going to be the Deshaun Stribling of that team, potentially. Then you have Deuce Alexander on the other side who's playing a bunch. Winnie Watkins. You have Luke Haas at tight end coming back, potentially. You have the tight ends that they recruited. Whoever they bring in the transfer portal, because we did a video with Brian Smith, who is the host of the Portal Podcast on the Locked On Network. And if Lane Kiffin stays at Ole Miss, this could be the most elite transfer portal class that you could possibly imagine at Ole Miss next year. With Florida and LSU coming open and those players. People like Harold Perkins being brought up to Oxford, Mississippi, potentially, or something like that. Athletes all over the field. Arkansas is available. Auburn may come available. Deuce Knight sitting right there. Jace Matthews, Deuce Gerald's. There is an absolute reward to Lane Kiffin sticking around at Ole Miss. If you want to take the next step, all of this chaos that's around Ole Miss right now, that's probably the ticket to the entrance to that last step to where you just become a national title contender.
Oh, yeah. It's, years ago, when Saban was at Alabama, my old Alabama buddy's like, man, we don't rebuild, we just reload. Well, we're there. I can't think of the kid's name, but he's one of the best defensive line prospects in the country out of high school. He was locked on with Penn State. Looks like we're going to get him.
Yeah, that's Branch.
Yeah.
He's on an official visit this weekend. And there's rumors that Jace Matthews might show up at this game.
That would be awesome.
And if he shows up at a game but either this game or the Florida game, that kid's going to Ole Miss.
I hope so.
I genuinely believe that.
I don't see how he could look at Auburn and Ole Miss and still want to go to Auburn. That's just me, though.
Yeah. It's different time. It absolutely is. Anyway, when we come back, we will look at some prop bets and things that we are looking for. We're talking to the mayor of Corinth, Tom Vanderford, all about Ole Miss football. So stick around. I do want to let you know that this show is brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend, so it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streak, saving more each and every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it all down. For the Ole Miss Rebels, Trinidad Chambliss delivered in a big way. This defense that Oklahoma had prior to this only gave up a maximum of 220 yards passing in a game. Chambliss threw for over 300 and hit big explosive pass after big explosive pass. When the pressure was on, he came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance wasn't a fluke. Trinidad Chambliss is on an elite streak, honestly. And just like Trinidad Chambliss delivered for the Ole Miss Rebels, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save Saturday each and every time you order. Stack it up all season. You can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep this streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. The promo period runs through November 18th. And the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It helps keep the game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when that first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Really interesting stuff. Now, when we look at the game today, Tom, I mentioned on my why Ole Miss wins, I think this game has a chance to be a Kejuan Lacey star turn game. South Carolina has struggled against the run all season. They're ranked near 100 in the country in rushing defense. Missouri and Ahmad Hardy ran all over them to the tune of about 300 and something yards in that game. I think this is, even though it's a home game, I think this is a pack your run game and pack your defense game with South Carolina. Kejuan Lacey, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's the prop bet that I'm on.
I'm all about it. I think also with that, I'm going to say Chambliss goes for over 250 and goes for over 50 rushing.
Well, since he's done it every game that he's quarterback, that's pretty good odds, but okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. Who's the wide receiver that you think will show out? Because seemingly every week is a different wide receiver for Chambliss.
Winnie, until he proves me wrong.
So Winnie Watkins doing all of that. Now, I think this is an important game that Ole Miss, I said in multiple shows over the course of the week, Ole Miss needs to front run in this game, because if you don't, pressure is going to build up just internally. This is a game, like I said, you want the draw play, you want the screen pass, you want to start the 2-minute offense, because that's what this is. The last game of the season is a 2-minute offense run through 4 games, and you want to get that first down, and that's what you want to do against South Carolina. Just go out there and win this game, whether it's by 1 point or by 40 points. There's no such thing as style points anymore. If Ole Miss wins their last 4 games, they're going to be playing in Vaught Hemingway Stadium. So I think I went with Ole Miss 31, South Carolina 10 in this game. I think Ole Miss covers and covers fairly easily.
Yeah, I'm going to go 34-14, which is pretty close to what you said. Like I said, as far as I'm concerned on defense, we just got to contain Sellers. He's their whole team on offense. I mean, they got some receivers, don't get me wrong, but if you can affect the trajectory of his throwing, you're going to be in good shape.
Yeah, and they've struggled on the offensive line, and Prince Williamon had a big game against Oklahoma.
Well,
Huge game.
How about Eccles? Both of them just blowing. You know, there was one play in particular where Eccles knocked the center in the backfield, and all I could think of was Parade Jerry.
Yeah, Parade did that against Mississippi. No, against LSU. Did that to T-Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Killed him.
Yeah. Just threw him around like a rag doll. And remember, with Lenore Sellers, there's going to be plays that get made by Lenore Sellers because he is the best in the SEC of taking a dead play and kind of reanimate it like a zombie play. Right. And so he will make one or two of those over the course of the game. It's going to be on Ole Miss's offense to actually score some points.
Right.
What do you got going on this weekend, Tommy?
Man, I tell you what, I'm going to try to relax, watch a little television, hang out with the family. I've been doing some volunteer work with wreaths across America, trying to slap some wreaths in our national cemetery here in Corinth. But other than that, man, just enjoying life.
Hey, you can't ask for anything more than that. Enjoy the ball game on Saturday, and we'll talk to you next week, buddy.
Yes, sir. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy. Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves in offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is kind of why we're the front door of Ole Miss. If you don't believe me, Google Ole Miss podcast and see how much we come up. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show, and it's absolutely free. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy breaks down the best conference in all of college sports, from the rivalries to the championship and every game in between. Find Locked On SEC on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hotty toddy, everybody. Remember, analytics are just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you in a few hours for the pregame show. Take care.